Okay, nice view. Don't know where I'm at, but it's not important. Anyway, gonna have a little chat with somebody here.
Well, how are you doing there, Charles? Thanks for coming down. I've been here since 1960. This is my parents' place. My dad bought this house in 1950 for the total price of $15,000. And
15?
15,15000.
That was a lot of money in 1959.
1959. And why he came here, he used to be a cable TV operator in Asbestos, Quebec, and Trois-Rivières, in Tedford Mines.
Puis tu parles français.
Et puis il parle français. And anyway, he came to New Brunswick. He was driving down the street. He seen the house, and he seen, because there was no trees when we had come here. All the trees that are here, this was just a field. Anyway, he liked the property. Rolly Rickard was the owner of the house, and he said, Rolly, I'll give you $15,000 for the house. Bang, he bought it. So during 1959, he bought cable TV from two gentlemen called Bob Harrision and Jerry Carty. They were for whatever reason, they didn't want to do it anymore, so they sold it to my dad.
What year was that?
That was in 1959, and it became Faust Telediffusion in 1960. So Dad bought the operation here in Fredericton, and he...
Excuse me, just one second. I always thought cable started in the 70s or in the 80s.
No, it started in the 50s. Now, before Bob Harrision and Jerry Carty, there were two farmers up in Carlisle Hill that had started it. That may have been in the late 40s,
really?
Possibly early 50s. So yeah, there's quite a history to the cable that you see today.
Yeah, continue on. I'm sorry.
And anyway, Dad bought this property. He bought the property in Silverwood, up top of Silverwood where the towers are, and he bought the property right across the river from that, which was called Carlisle Hill. And what it was, he was using Silverwood, set up his towers, and it was ribeye towers, antennas that he was using. He was capturing the American signals, and then retransmitting it to the Carlisle towers to supply the north side with cable TV. Now this was before that time was called the Department of Transportation. Now it's the CRTC that has taken it over. But by that time you could do that. Set something up in the airways and capture the television signals from the United States. So anyway, he circulated it, and it became quite successful. And that went through right up until 1966. And 1966, my dad passed away from a massive heart attack, which, of course, that altered the future.
How old was he?
He was 56 at the time. I was 12 years old.
So that changed the future.
That changed the future. Now, of course, Mom being in grievance, the pressure came on to her. There was the investor, which I won't mention the name, but there was the lawyer, Bill Hoyte, became Supreme Court Chief Justice, I believe, of the province at one time. Well, he was the lawyer that was representing my mother's interest. The seller was representing the interest of the investor, and was representing the interest of the buyer. Now, is that a conflict of interest, or is that a conflict of interest? The bottom line is that my mom received very, very little for cable TV. Everyone else around her made an incredible amount of dollars and cents. Bill Hoyte, shortly after that, built himself a new house on Waterloo Row. And anyway, after it was sold, we lost ownership to it. But it used to, originally it was called Faust Transfusion, then it was called City Cable Vision. And there's still some people who work for my dad that are still alive. There's Jean Kavanagh, who now operates chimney sweeps. He was very instrumental with my dad, and Dad taught him everything he needed to know, and Jean had carried on up until he decided to do something else. But another side note to this, not while we owned it, but there was a period of time that during Trudeau's time is that there was a lot of monopolies that was happening in American-owned businesses, and it was an American company that was running Fredericton Cable. And anyway, what they did, because the Trudeau government was basically saying no more of this, they hired a fellow by the name of St. Quinity out of Montreal to create a Canadian version of the American company to get up around the foreign ownership. But it was still owned by the Americans at that time, but under St. Quinity, the Canadian. And then, of course, from there it changed hands several times. I've lost track. Last that I was told, it was sold for $8.8 million.
So what would have happened if your father would have not died?
Well,
what do you think? Well, I mean, he would have died later on, but not so young.
One, I would have been older. I was 12 years old when he passed away. There's no telling what the results. My personalities, my technological know-how that I probably learned from him as a young fellow would have been enough to keep the operation going. With a little life experience, if it'd be my way, it would be still in my hands. I don't think I would have ever had sold it. But that was not what God had intended for this operation.
Well, look at it this way. If you would have owned it, you would have been a millionaire. Therefore, you would have never met me. So
I would have been a snob.
Exactly.
Même en français.
En français, un maudit goddamn the snob. C'est exactement.
Well, I don't think from knowing myself and my whole life experiences that even, if that would have happened, I don't think it would have changed my way. Today, we were at a memorial, and what that memorial reminded me is that I could be in that person's position just as easy as they are. It's fate, destiny, all those kinds of things come into play to what happens. And so when I see the so-called less fortunate, I can see myself in the position just as easy. I'm not, nor is anyone else invulnerable for losing everything, being out on the streets, and being caught in a situation where one has to panhandle.
Listen, excuse me for 1 second. Does this jackass, Hoyte, is he still alive?
Bill Hoyte, I don't know if he's still kicking or not.
No? That's pretty dirty. That's a conflict of interest if I see one.
And that even how he was able to do that, because that's against the policy of the bar.
Oh, you're trying to tell me we got crooked lawyers here?
Oh, we don't have crooked lawyer. They're about as straight can be if you're working on a 90-degree angle. If you define your straightment from the point of the angle.
Okay, so exactly. So the bottom line is we went from, what's it called again? FIO cable?
Faust transfusion, or telediffusion.
1.
Then it became City Cable.
2.
TV. Then it became Fredericton City Cable.
3.
Then there was another one in there which I can't remember.
Shaw? No.
No, before Shaw.
Fundy Cable?
Fundy Cable.
Is that what it was?
And then
Shaw?
And then Rogers.
Rogers. So, listen, thanks for the history.
You're welcome, Charles.
Now we know the rest of the story about cable in New Brunswick.